Harper Anderson sits alone in the Millbrook Academy bathroom stall, her hands trembling as she stares at the bruises Christopher Williams left on her wrists just 20 minutes ago. The purple marks tell a story she cannot speak aloud. The porcelain feels cold against her back as she presses herself into the corner, trying to disappear from a world that refuses to see her pain. Tears fall silently onto her torn calculus homework. She has no idea that in exactly 47 days, she will destroy Christopher Williams so completely that his name will become synonymous with justice served. She has no idea that the quiet girl he is tormenting holds the power to end not just his future, but his entire family's legacy. What Christopher does not know is that Harper Anderson is not the orphaned scholarship student she pretends to be. She is the adopted daughter of billionaire William Anderson, and she has been documenting every single one of his crimes. Comment your country and hit subscribe, because this story will shatter everything you think you know about power. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead as Harper finally stands up, her legs shaky from the adrenaline. She checks her reflection in the cracked mirror, seeing a stranger staring back. Her lip is split from where Christopher backhanded her during lunch. Her school blazer hangs crooked where he grabbed and twisted the fabric. She pulls out her phone with trembling fingers and opens the encrypted app her father's security team taught her to use. The red recording light blinks steadily, having captured every word of Christopher's threats. "No one will believe you," his voice echoes in the recording. "My father is a federal judge, and you are nothing." And if you are enjoying this incredible story of justice and transformation, please hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful tales that need to be heard. If these stories inspire you as much as they inspire me, to share them. Consider hitting the thanks button below, because your support helps me continue bringing these important stories to light. Thank you so much for being here with me through Harper's journey. 3 months earlier, Harper Anderson makes the decision that will change everything. She sits in the marble-floored study of the Anderson estate, facing her adoptive father across his mahogany desk. William Anderson, founder and CEO of Anderson Technologies, looks at his 17-year-old daughter with concern etched across his weathered face. The man who built a $5 billion empire from nothing cannot understand why his brilliant daughter wants to attend public school under a false identity. "You could have any private academy in the country," he says, gesturing toward the wall of awards and achievements that represent Harper's extraordinary mind. "Why do you want to pretend to be poor?" Harper's green eyes shine with determination as she explains her plan. She wants to experience life as a normal teenager, without the weight of her family's wealth and influence. "I want to know who I really am when I am not William Anderson's daughter," she says, her voice steady despite her youth. "I want to earn my place in the world." William sighs deeply, knowing that arguing with Harper is like arguing with himself. She inherited his stubborn streak along with his genius-level intellect. 6 months, he finally agrees. "But you wear the emergency tracker, and my security team monitors you from a distance." Harper hugs her father tightly, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne. She has no idea that this decision will lead her into the darkest chapter of her life. The plan is simple. She will live in a modest apartment across town, attend Millbrook Academy as a scholarship student, and experience high school like any other teenager. Her cover story involves a deceased grandmother who left her enough money for tuition, but little else. William arranges for Harper to have a beaten-up Honda Civic instead of her usual Tesla. Her designer clothes are replaced with thrift store finds and carefully selected outfits that suggest financial struggle. The first day at Millbrook Academy, Harper walks through the imposing iron gates at exactly 7:45 a.m. The September air carries the scent of autumn leaves and teenage ambition. Millbrook Academy stands like a fortress of privilege. Its Gothic architecture housing the children of senators, judges, and Fortune 500 CEOs. Harper has attended schools like this before, but never as an outsider looking in. She clutches her worn backpack tighter as she observes the social hierarchy unfolding before her. Expensive cars drop off students who move with the confidence that comes from knowing their futures are guaranteed. Christopher Williams emerges from a black Mercedes SUV, his 6-foot frame commanding attention as he strides across the courtyard. Everything about him screams entitlement, from his perfectly styled brown hair to his $300 sneakers. His father, Federal Judge Robert Williams, has ensured that Christopher's path through life is smooth and obstacle-free. The 18-year-old has never faced real consequences for his actions. James Rodriguez, David Taylor, and William Garcia flank Christopher like loyal soldiers. Their fathers hold positions as police chief, mayor, and district attorney, respectively, creating a network of power that seems untouchable. Harper watches from a distance as Christopher shoves a younger student aside without breaking stride. The boy's books scatter across the ground, but no one stops to help. "Watch where you are going. Scholarship trash." Christopher sneers, his voice carrying across the courtyard. Laughter erupts from his group as they continue toward the main building. Harper feels a chill run down her spine as Christopher's eyes meet hers for the first time. Something predatory flickers in his gaze, and she quickly looks away. She has no idea that this moment marks the beginning of her nightmare. She has no idea that Christopher Williams has just selected his next victim. The first week passes quietly as Harper settles into her new identity. She excels in her classes while carefully maintaining the facade of being a struggling scholarship student. Her teachers are impressed by her intellect, but she makes sure never to outshine her classmates too dramatically. Drawing attention is the last thing she wants. During lunch, she sits alone with her brown bag meal, observing the complex social dynamics that govern teenage life at Millbrook. The cafeteria is divided into clear territories based on family wealth and social status. Christopher Williams rules from the center table, surrounded by his loyal followers and whatever girls are currently vying for his attention. Harper notices how everyone seeks his approval, even the teachers who should be authority figures. She overhears conversations about weekend parties at family estates, spring break trips to private islands, and college acceptance letters that were secured with strategic donations. This is a world where money solves every problem and opens every door. On Friday afternoon, Harper's carefully constructed world begins to crumble. She is walking to her locker when Christopher appears beside her, his presence immediately making her skin crawl. "I do not think we have been properly introduced," he says, his voice smooth but carrying an undertone of threat. "I am Christopher Williams, and I basically run this place." Harper mumbles a polite greeting, hoping he will lose interest and move on. Instead, he leans closer, invading her personal space. "You know, I could help you out around here," he continues, his hand reaching toward her face. "A girl like you could use some protection from the right kind of guy." Harper steps back quickly, her heart pounding as every instinct screams danger. "I am fine on my own, thank you," she manages to say, her voice steadier than she feels. Christopher's expression darkens at the rejection, his jaw tightening with anger. He is clearly not accustomed to being turned down, especially by someone he perceives as beneath his social status. "You sure about that?" he asks, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "Things can get pretty rough around here for girls who think they are too good for their betters." The threat hangs in the air between them as Harper hurries away. She can feel Christopher's eyes following her down the hallway, and she knows with absolute certainty that she has just made a dangerous enemy. That night, she lies in her small apartment, staring at the ceiling and wondering if she should call her father. Pride keeps her from reaching for the phone, but fear makes her sleep fitfully. She has no idea that Christopher Williams has already begun planning her destruction. She has no idea that he sees her rejection as a challenge that must be crushed. The harassment begins on Monday morning with something that seems almost innocent. Harper arrives at her locker to find a note taped to the metal door. "Scholarship sluts should know their place." The message reads in Christopher's distinctive handwriting. Harper crumples the paper and throws it away, hoping this is the extent of his revenge. She is wrong. This is only the beginning of a campaign of terror that will push her to the breaking point and beyond. By Wednesday, rumors begin circulating through the school like wildfire. Harper supposedly works as a prostitute to pay for her tuition, according to the whispered gossip that follows her through the hallways. The lies are so outrageous that Harper initially believes no one will take them seriously. She underestimates the power of Christopher's influence and the willingness of their classmates to believe the worst about someone they perceive as an outsider. The first photoshopped image appears on social media that Friday. Someone has skillfully edited Harper's face onto explicit photographs, creating convincing evidence of the prostitution rumors. The images spread through the school's social networks like a virus. By the time Harper sees them, hundreds of students have already viewed and shared the fabricated pornography. She reports the images to the administration, hoping for help. Instead, she is called into the principal's office and questioned about her activities outside of school. Principal Margaret Thompson, a woman whose job depends on keeping wealthy parents satisfied, treats Harper with barely concealed disgust. "These allegations are very serious," she says, her voice dripping with false concern. "We cannot have this kind of behavior associated with our institution." Harper tries to explain that the images are fake, that she is being targeted by Christopher Williams, but her words fall on deaf ears. "Mr. Williams is from a very respected family." The principal replies dismissively, "I suggest you focus on improving your own reputation rather than making accusations." The weekend brings no respite from the psychological torture. Harper's social media accounts are flooded with hateful messages from classmates who believe the manufactured evidence. "Scholarship whore," "disgusting slut," and worse epithets fill her notifications. She deletes the accounts entirely, but the damage to her reputation is already complete. On Sunday night, she sits in her apartment with her laptop, reviewing security footage from the school cameras. Her father's training in digital forensics allows her to trace the source of the fake images directly to Christopher's IP address. For the first time since this nightmare began, Harper allows herself a small smile. Christopher Williams has made his first mistake, and she is documenting everything. She opens the encrypted folder on her hard drive where she has been collecting evidence. Timestamps, IP addresses, witness statements, and digital footprints paint a clear picture of systematic harassment. Her father always taught her that information is the most powerful weapon in the world. Now, she is about to prove him right. Monday morning arrives with a new level of cruelty that takes Harper's breath away. She opens her locker to find a dead rat stuffed inside, its decomposing body filling the small space with the stench of death. Students gathered in the hallway laugh and point as Harper stumbles backward. Some take photos and videos to share on social media, turning her trauma into entertainment. Christopher watches from across the hall, his arms crossed and a satisfied smirk on his face. He has achieved exactly the reaction he wanted. "Problem with your locker," he calls out loudly, ensuring everyone hears. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you started spreading diseases around our school." The laughter grows louder as Harper slams the locker shut and runs toward the bathroom. Behind her, she can hear Christopher organizing a chant of "scholarship slut" that echoes through the corridors. Teachers walk past without intervening. They have received clear instructions about which students are worth protecting, and Harper is not on that list. The harassment escalates to physical intimidation during chemistry class on Thursday. Harper is working alone at her lab station when Christopher and his friends surround her table. "Careful with those chemicals," Christopher says loudly enough for the teacher to hear. "We would not want anything dangerous to happen to our scholarship girl." While the teacher's back is turned, Christopher deliberately knocks over Harper's beaker, sending acid solution splashing across her notebook and homework. "Oops," Christopher says with mock concern as Harper's calculus assignment dissolves before her eyes. Accidents happen when you do not pay attention. The teacher, Mr. Davis, glances over briefly but does nothing to address the obvious bullying. His job security depends on maintaining good relationships with powerful families, and the Williams family has made significant donations to the school's science department. Harper spends her lunch period in the library, trying to recreate her destroyed homework. Tears of frustration blur her vision as she realizes she will never finish the assignment in time. She pulls out her phone and opens the camera app, taking photos of the damaged notebook and writing detailed notes about the incident. Every piece of evidence brings her closer to the justice she knows is coming. That afternoon, Christopher corners Harper in an empty hallway after most students have left for the day. His friends stand guard at both ends of the corridor, ensuring they will not be interrupted. "You know what I think," Christopher says, backing Harper against the lockers. "I think you are starting to like all this attention." His hand reaches out to touch her face, and Harper flinches away. The movement only seems to excite him more. "Don't touch me," Harper says firmly, her voice echoing in the empty hallway. Christopher laughs and grabs her wrist, his fingers digging into her skin hard enough to leave bruises. "You do not get to tell me what to do," he hisses. His face inches from hers. "You are nothing but scholarship trash. And I own this school." Harper tries to pull away, but his grip tightens. She can feel her bones grinding together under the pressure. "Let me go," she whispers, genuine fear creeping into her voice for the first time. Christopher's eyes light up at the sound, feeding off her terror like a predator scenting blood. "Or what?" he taunts, pressing her harder against the metal lockers. "You will call your grandmother. You will file a complaint with the administration, who already thinks you are a prostitute." The sound of approaching footsteps causes Christopher to release her abruptly. He steps back just as a teacher rounds the corner, his transformation from predator to innocent student happening in seconds. "Everything okay here?" the teacher asks, looking between Harper's pale face and Christopher's confident smile. Harper knows that reporting this incident will only make her situation worse. "Everything is fine," she manages to say. Christopher's smirk tells her that he knows he has won this round. That night, Harper sits in her apartment with a bag of frozen peas pressed against her bruised wrist. The pain serves as a constant reminder of Christopher's threat and her own vulnerability. She stares at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, seeing a stranger looking back. 3 weeks ago. She was confident and secure in her identity as William Anderson's daughter. Now she is a victim, isolated and afraid, questioning her decision to live this lie. She picks up her phone 3 different times to call her father, but pride and stubbornness keep her from dialing the number. Harper Anderson has never backed down from a challenge, and she refuses to start now. Instead, she opens her laptop and begins researching Christopher Williams and his family. If she is going to fight back, she needs to understand her enemy completely. The Williams family history reads like a textbook on corruption and abuse of power. Judge Robert Williams has a pattern of lenient sentences for defendants from wealthy families, while harsh punishments await those without connections. Christopher's juvenile record has been sealed, but Harper's advanced hacking skills allow her to access deleted police reports. The boy has been accused of assault, sexual harassment, and vandalism multiple times, but charges never stick. A chill runs down Harper's spine as she reads about Christopher's previous victims. At least 7 girls have transferred schools or dropped out entirely after encountering him. One file mentions a girl named Jennifer Martinez, who committed suicide after Christopher allegedly raped her at a party. The investigation was dropped when the Williams family claimed she was mentally unstable and making false accusations. Harper closes the laptop and walks to her window, looking out at the city lights while processing what she has learned. Christopher Williams is not just a bully. He is a serial predator, protected by a system designed to shield the wealthy from consequences. She thinks about Jennifer Martinez and the other girls who suffered in silence. She thinks about the future victims who will cross Christopher's path if someone does not stop him. For the first time since this nightmare began, Harper feels something other than fear and despair. She feels purpose. Tomorrow, she will begin fighting back, but not as the helpless scholarship student everyone believes her to be. She will fight as Harper Anderson, daughter of one of the most powerful men in America. Armed with every resource and advantage her real identity provides, she opens her phone and begins typing a message to her father's head of security. "Need to discuss upgrading my surveillance package." She writes, "Situation requires escalation." The response comes within minutes. "Understood. New equipment delivered tomorrow. Stay safe, Harper." As she prepares for bed, Harper allows herself a small smile. Christopher Williams has no idea what storm he has unleashed. The quiet scholarship girl he has been tormenting is about to become his worst nightmare. The game has changed, and Harper Anderson always plays to win. The surveillance equipment arrives the next morning in an unmarked package. Harper examines the tiny cameras and recording devices that could change everything. Each piece of technology represents her father's world of corporate espionage and information warfare. Now she will use these tools to document Christopher's crimes in unprecedented detail. She carefully conceals the micro cameras in her clothing and backpack. Every conversation, every threat, every assault will now be captured in high definition. Friday arrives with the kind of tension that makes the air feel electric. Harper can sense that Christopher is planning something special for her. She is not disappointed. During third period, she receives a text message from an unknown number containing explicit threats about what Christopher plans to do to her after school. The message is vulgar and detailed, describing acts of sexual violence that make Harper's stomach turn. She screenshots everything and adds it to her growing digital evidence file. The confrontation comes during lunch period in the school's empty gymnasium. Christopher has lured Harper there with a fake message about makeup work for chemistry class. She knows it is a trap, but she goes anyway. Her hidden cameras are recording everything, and she needs Christopher to incriminate himself completely. James Rodriguez and David Taylor guard the doors while William Garcia keeps watch. Christopher has planned this assault with military precision. Finally, we can have some privacy, Christopher says as he approaches Harper across the polished wooden floor. His voice echoes in the empty space, and Harper can hear the predatory hunger in every word. "You have been avoiding me, scholarship girl, and that hurt my feelings." He continues circling her like a shark scenting blood. Harper stands perfectly still. Knowing that any sudden movement might trigger the violence she can see building in his eyes. "What do you want from me?" Harper asks. Her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. Christopher laughs, a sound devoid of any human warmth or compassion. "I want you to understand your place in the world," he replies, reaching out to grab her arm. His fingers dig into her bicep hard enough to leave finger-shaped bruises. "You are nothing but a poor little scholarship girl, and I am Christopher Williams." He pulls her closer, his breath hot against her face. Harper jerks away from his grasp. But there is nowhere to run. His friends block every exit, and she is trapped in this concrete and steel cage. "You cannot just take whatever you want," she says, backing away until she hits the gymnasium wall. Christopher follows her, pressing his body against hers and pinning her in place. "Watch me," he whispers, his hand moving toward her throat. Harper feels the cold metal of the wall against her back and knows that this moment will define everything that comes after. The attack escalates beyond anything Harper imagined possible. Christopher's hands roam her body, while his friends laugh and encourage him from across the room. "Please stop," Harper pleads. But her words only seem to excite him more. He feeds off her fear like a vampire drawing sustenance from blood. She closes her eyes and focuses on the tiny camera hidden in her collar. Every second of this assault is being recorded in crystal-clear detail. "Look at me," Christopher demands, grabbing her chin and forcing her to meet his gaze. Harper sees nothing human in his eyes, only the cold calculation of a predator who has found his perfect victim. "I want you to remember this moment," he continues, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carries more threat than any scream. "I want you to know that no one will ever believe you over me." Harper endures the assault in silence, storing every detail in her memory for the reckoning that will surely come. Christopher's arrogance is his weakness, and she will use that against him. When he finally releases her, she slides down the wall like a broken doll. Her clothes are torn, her lip is bleeding, and bruises are already forming on her arms and throat. "Clean yourself up," Christopher orders, straightening his own clothing with casual indifference. "And remember what happens to girls who forget their place." That night, Harper sits in her apartment reviewing the footage her hidden cameras captured. The digital evidence is damning and irrefutable, showing Christopher's assault in horrifying detail. She uploads everything to multiple secure servers and sends encrypted copies to her father's legal team. The wheels of justice are about to begin turning. But Harper wants something more than legal consequences. She wants Christopher Williams to experience the same helplessness and terror he inflicted on her. She wants him to understand what it feels like to have your entire world destroyed by someone more powerful. The annual Millbrook Academy Scholarship Awards ceremony is scheduled for the following Friday. The event will be attended by hundreds of parents, donors, and community leaders, including several judges and politicians. More importantly, the ceremony will be broadcast live on the local news station. Harper realizes this presents the perfect opportunity for Christopher's public destruction. She calls her father for the first time since starting this charade. When William Anderson hears what has happened to his daughter, his voice becomes deadly quiet. "How do you want to handle this?" he asks. And Harper can hear the barely controlled rage in every syllable. William Anderson has destroyed corporations and ended political careers for far less than what Christopher Williams has done to his daughter. "I want him to face justice publicly," Harper replies, her voice steady with newfound determination. "I want everyone to see who he really is. And I want his family to experience consequences for protecting him." The conversation lasts 3 hours as they plan Christopher's downfall with surgical precision. William Anderson's resources are vast, and his reach extends into every corner of American politics and media. By the time they finish talking, Christopher Williams and his enablers are living on borrowed time. They just do not know it yet. The scholarship awards ceremony begins at 7 p.m. on Friday, with all the pomp and circumstance befitting Millbrook Academy's most important annual event. Parents, dressed in designer clothing, fill the auditorium, while camera crews set up equipment for the live broadcast. Harper sits in the back row, wearing her nicest thrift store dress. To everyone present, she appears to be just another scholarship recipient, waiting nervously for her moment of recognition. Christopher Williams commands attention from his front row seat. His family's prominent placement reflects their status as major donors to the Academy's endowment fund. Judge Robert Williams sits proudly beside his son, completely unaware that his career and reputation are about to be destroyed. Federal judges are supposed to be above reproach, but Robert Williams has spent years using his position to shield his son from consequences. Principal Margaret Thompson takes the stage to thunderous applause. Her opening remarks praise the Academy's commitment to excellence and the generous families who make academic achievement possible. Tonight, we celebrate not just our students' accomplishments, but the bright futures that await them. She announces, the irony of her words will become apparent in just a few minutes. The first sign that something is wrong comes when Principal Thompson calls Harper's name. This year's recipient of the Academic Excellence Award is Harper Anderson. The applause is polite, but subdued. Most people in the audience still believe the rumors about Harper's alleged prostitution. Harper walks to the stage with quiet dignity. She accepts the small trophy and approaches the microphone, knowing that her next words will change everything. "Thank you for this honor," Harper begins, her voice carrying clearly through the auditorium's sound system. "But before I say anything else, I need to share something important with all of you." She pauses, letting the silence build tension. Christopher Williams shifts uncomfortably in his seat, sensing danger but unable to identify its source. "My name is not really Harper Anderson," she continues, and a murmur ripples through the crowd. "My real name is Harper Anderson, and my father is William Anderson, founder and CEO of Anderson Technologies." The murmur becomes a gasp as people begin to understand the implications. Christopher Williams goes pale as he realizes that the girl he has been tormenting is one of the most powerful people in America. The revelation sends shockwaves through the auditorium as Harper continues her speech. "For the past 3 months, I have been documenting a campaign of harassment, assault, and attempted rape by Christopher Williams and his associates." The crowd erupts in chaos as camera crews scramble to capture every moment. This is no longer a simple award ceremony, but a national news event unfolding in real time. Harper pulls out a tablet and connects it to the auditorium's projection system. Suddenly, the large screens throughout the room begin displaying crystal-clear footage of Christopher's attacks. The audience watches in horrified silence as Christopher commits assault after assault. His own voice condemns him as he brags about being untouchable due to his father's position. "Stop this immediately," Judge Robert Williams shouts, rising from his seat with fury written across his face. "This is a setup, and I will not allow my son to be framed by this lying little girl." His words only serve to further incriminate him as Harper reveals the extent of the evidence she has collected. Months of digital surveillance have captured not only Christopher's crimes, but also the systematic cover-up orchestrated by his father and other officials. Christopher Williams sits frozen in his chair as his world collapses around him. Every camera in the room is focused on his face as he watches his crimes displayed for the world to see. The boy who believed himself untouchable now faces the complete destruction of his future. College acceptances will be revoked. Criminal charges will be filed. And his name will become synonymous with predatory behavior. The final blow comes when Harper reveals that her father's foundation controls the $500 million scholarship fund that supports Millbrook Academy. Effective immediately, the Anderson Foundation is withdrawing all funding from this institution pending a complete investigation of its administration's complicity in covering up these crimes. Principal Thompson faints as she realizes that her career and the school's future have just been destroyed on live television. Police officers enter the auditorium as Harper finishes her presentation. Christopher Williams is arrested on charges of assault, sexual harassment, and attempted rape, while his father watches helplessly from the audience. The live television coverage ensures that millions of viewers witness Christopher's downfall. Social media explodes with reactions as the story goes viral worldwide. James Rodriguez, David Taylor, and William Garcia are arrested at their homes within hours. Harper's surveillance network captured their participation in multiple assaults, making them accessories to Christopher's crimes. Their father's political careers end overnight, as federal investigators launch corruption probes based on evidence Harper's team provided. The entire network of enablers and protectors crumbles like a house of cards. Judge Robert Williams faces impeachment proceedings and federal charges for obstruction of justice. His years of protecting his son and other wealthy defendants have created a paper trail that even his judicial immunity cannot shield. The Williams family fortune disappears into legal fees and civil settlements. Their reputation is destroyed so completely that they are forced to leave the state to escape public condemnation. Harper's story inspires thousands of other victims to come forward. The Anderson Foundation establishes $1 billion fund to support survivors of sexual assault and harassment. Christopher Williams receives a 25-year prison sentence after additional victims testify about years of abuse. He will serve his time in general population, where predators like him face their own forms of justice. Millbrook Academy closes permanently 6 months later. The scandal destroys its reputation so completely that no family will send their children there. The building is eventually converted into a center for victims' rights advocacy. Harper personally oversees the transformation as part of her commitment to ensuring that other students never face what she endured. 5 years later, Harper Anderson stands before the Supreme Court as the youngest person ever appointed to serve as Solicitor General. Her legal career has been meteoric, driven by her passion for justice and her intimate understanding of how power protects predators. She thinks often about Christopher Williams, now serving his sentence in a maximum security prison. His appeals have all been denied, and he will spend the best years of his life behind bars. The Anderson Foundation has become one of the most powerful advocacy organizations in America. Harper's story continues to inspire legislation and policy changes that protect vulnerable students from predatory behavior. She receives thousands of letters from young people who found the courage to speak out because of her example. Each message reminds her that surviving her ordeal was worth the pain. But late at night, when Harper is alone in her Georgetown office, she sometimes wonders if true justice was ever really achieved. Christopher Williams lost his freedom, but Jennifer Martinez and the other victims lost their lives. The system that protected him for so long still exists. Even if it operates more carefully now, there are still predators out there, still victims suffering in silence, still powerful families using their influence to shield their children from consequences. Harper opens her laptop and begins reviewing cases for tomorrow's Supreme Court arguments. Each legal brief represents someone seeking justice in a system that too often fails them. She thinks about the girl she used to be, cowering in that bathroom stall while Christopher Williams terrorized her. That girl could never have imagined the woman she would become. A new email notification appears on her screen. The sender's name makes Harper's blood run cold. From Christopher Williams, Federal Correctional Institution. Her hands tremble as she opens the message. After 5 years of silence, her former tormentor has reached out from his prison cell. I know what you did. The message reads, I know about the things you covered up, the evidence you destroyed, the people you silenced. Prison has given me time to investigate, and I have found allies who want to see you fall as far as I have fallen. Harper stares at the screen as her pulse quickens. Christopher Williams is supposed to be powerless, locked away from society and unable to harm anyone. But somehow, even from behind bars, he has found a way to threaten her again. The predator is still hunting, still seeking revenge against the prey that escaped his grasp. She reaches for her phone to call her security team, but hesitates. What if Christopher is telling the truth about having evidence of her own secrets? The complete destruction of his life required morally questionable tactics. Not everything Harper and her father did was entirely legal or ethical. As Harper closes the laptop and prepares to leave her office, she catches her reflection in the dark window. The confident woman looking back has secrets that could destroy her just as completely as she destroyed Christopher Williams. Justice, she realizes, is never as clean or simple as it appears from the outside. It is a messy, complicated thing that sometimes requires good people to do terrible things. Justice isn't about being perfect, Harper whispers to her reflection. It's about making sure the right people pay the right price, even when that price includes pieces of your own soul. Harper sits in her car outside the Supreme Court building for 20 minutes, paralyzed by the implications of Christopher's message. The parking garage feels like a tomb as shadows dance across her windshield. She finally dials her father's private number, knowing that William Anderson will answer on the first ring despite the late hour. His voice carries the same steel that built an empire from nothing. Christopher Williams contacted you, he states before she can speak. The Anderson family's surveillance network apparently intercepted the prison email before it reached her inbox. We need to talk in person. Harper, some conversations cannot happen over phones, even secure ones. The drive to the Anderson estate takes 45 minutes through Virginia's winding back roads. Harper's mind races with possibilities as she navigates the familiar route home. What evidence could Christopher possibly have after 5 years in maximum security? What allies could he have found behind bars who would care about destroying her? The estate's security gates recognize her biometrics and swing open silently. Harper parks in the circular driveway where she once played as a child, before the weight of justice and revenge transformed her into someone else entirely. William Anderson waits in the doorway, his silhouette backlit by warm interior light, even at midnight. He projects the authority that comes from controlling billions of dollars and thousands of lives. "Come inside, my dear," he says softly, his voice carrying undertones she has not heard since the night they planned Christopher's destruction. "We have some ghosts to discuss, and morning comes too quickly for the work that lies ahead."